Welcome back to Lobby Concessionals, the movie podcast where nobody's right and everybody's wrong. I'm Parker, and that's Brendon. This is our second week as far as the viewing process is concerned. I think we're going to try something new this week, and we're actually recording this in the week we are airing it, streaming it, posting it. We'll go with posting
at least
it.
The illusion of it.
Yeah.
But we do want to thank everybody for listening the first week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good week. It's been a good first or good launch, I guess. For us. So we're pretty stoked.
Pretty exciting.
So thanks for coming out. So we figured what we tried to do today is a segment we want to call After the Credits. The intent is to kind of discuss recent movies we've seen, what we've been watching, talk about ourselves a little bit more, and talk about effectively like current events in movies, things that we think are worth discussing sort of more or less in the moment. We're going to try and do this twice a month. And I think the idea, hopefully if it works out, is to discuss kind of that chunk of the month we're in, that half of the month, and we'll see how it works out.
Cool.
So with that in mind, Brendon, what have you watched in the last couple of weeks?
So I didn't tell you this because I was saving it.
Oh, no.
But we had a viewer reach out to me via Instagram. Joshua from Tennessee.
Oh, sweet.
Message and had some very kind things to say. And he's a younger cat, and he's like really getting into movies. And so he was on a big Brian De Palma kick this week when he messaged on Monday after the first episode released.
Hi, Joshua from Tennessee, by the way.
Yeah. So that got me going. So I ended up watching like 4 Brian De Palma films this week.
Oh, sweet. Okay,
yeah, so I did Carrie, Untouchables, Black Dahlia, and Scarface. And I didn't want to, but like, I figured if I was going to do the retrospective, I got to put it in there.
You got to do Scarface.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a fine movie.
I've never seen it, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to, but
but it is the specter that haunts over De Palma. Unfortunately, I just think he's and maybe that's a good conversation for another time, but that just feels like the ghost that he's chasing. Or not he's chasing. It's not a movie he's trying to recreate. It's the reputation he's trying to shed. The movies that he's made and the kind of the library he's built, I just think that Scarface sticks out like a sore thumb, and it just feels like it's something he can't escape.
Yeah. Were you happy you did it? Like it
was nice. Like I think I think you'll end up talking about it later, but in the current buzz of the Oscars and everybody's trying to catch up and watch those new things, it was nice to go back and I love the Untouchables. And so I had a good time with it all. Mm-hmm. I had a really good time with it all. So I had a good, and it was one of those things where you could sit and watch those movies and movies that you've watched before, and you know what? It's not like you're turning your brain off, but there's a little comfort there. It was like a comfort food. So I had a good time. That's
the Untouchables is interesting because I find I didn't take a lot of film studies courses, but I took a couple. I took as many as I could in my business degree. But that seems I've always associated with a very film studies film.
Really? That's actually pretty interesting.
That was one of the ones I did watch.
Yeah.
But it really struck me because it hits a lot of boxes in terms of there's great performances in it. The story structure is very not generic, but like very 3-act.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to teach, especially new film students. Yeah. And then there's the classic stair scene that's referencing, I think it's Battleship Potemkin is the original from the 20s, I believe, or the 30s. And it's a Russian film that it's referencing. And so like those sort of deeper cuts are kind of cool too. And I remember that was a big deal for me. Just really getting into movies, and this was my first film studies class. Yeah. To be able to see like, oh wait, I've seen other things do this. Like not exactly like Untouchables. They noticeably like ripped it straight out of that earlier film, Battleship Potemkin. But I've seen other films do things similar, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're all throwing back. Anyway, I thought it was really cool.
Untouchables has a special place in my heart. I'll tell you a really quick story. One of the first Sean Connery movies I ever watched was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh yeah, obviously. Sure.
And I was really young, and then I watched Untouchables, and it was the first time in watching movies that I recognized an actor.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Cool.
So the idea that Sean Connery was in 2 movies, and one of them he was an Indiana Jones dad, kind of sucked the wind out of it for me. Like you don't know when you're young.
No, totally.
And all that stuff. So the Untouchables has that's the little pinpoint.
Yeah.
For me, which is pretty unique.
I definitely remember as a kid. I think the first time I had that, it was sort of not quite exactly. I wasn't smart enough or smart as you were in this situation. I watched Seabiscuit, and I was shocked that Peter Parker was allowed to be on that horse. Like, amazed. And I was like, why doesn't he have spider powers? Like, I couldn't follow the movie at all. It was a disaster. And then I had to have it explained to me that these are actors, and their job is to portray characters. Yeah. So, kind of an idiot. Well, sweet though. It sounds like you kind of nailed it. And so Brian De Palma. That
was it for me. In terms of movies,
okay,
that was it for me. Yeah,
fair enough. I really blew you out of the water here.
Yeah, you do every time this year.
Yeah,
around this time, right?
Yeah, I just always done a slam dunk on you. So not like I've watched all of the Best Picture Oscar nominees, as well as. The other one would have been Tragedy of Macbeth, which isn't up for Best Picture. And then I also there was a couple other random ones I watched in the last little while too. So I watched Turning Red.
Okay. Yeah, I did that too. I forgot about that.
And the Lost City. You
did that.
Daniel Radcliffe and Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt film. It was fine. For context, my wife's a big Harry Potter fan, so
you wouldn't have put it as the 11th Best Picture?
Oh no, no. Brad Pitt's great in it. It's really great to see him be in movies.
Yeah, is he in it for a pretty decent time?
It's like advertised as a cameo, and it's correctly advertised as a cameo.
Gotcha.
It was longer than I anticipated, but do not go in expecting a lot of Brad Pitt. Okay. I went to the movie with my mom as well. And she was devastated that he was no longer in it. Like he leaves, and then she's like, "Oh, is Brad gone?" And I was like, "Yeah,
right in the middle of the movie."
And she's like, "Oh," like just crestfallen. So
yeah, she goes to the movies once every 5 years, and Brad Pitt just leaves her 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, no kidding. So, but it was fun. It's a fun movie. It's exactly what it looks like. There's nothing really new there or crazy there in terms of surprises, but it's fun. And if you're into it, you like those people, you're gonna have a good time. Channing Tatum's awesome.
You're a big Channing guy.
Yeah. Oh, how can you not be? The guy just oozes charm.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, all the Oscar movies. I'll do a quick rundown for people that are interested. I would just say probably top 3 on the Best Picture list, out of the 10, in no particular order. I would say the ones you really need to watch are Dune, King Richard, and Coda. Dune in particular, as far as I'm concerned, that's going to sweep half of the awards. Anything technical, Dune's taking it, as far as I'm concerned. For the record, too, we are filming this before the Oscars air. So we don't actually know the awards.
Do you think he'll win Best Director?
I do not. I think Best Director is going to go to I think Best Director and Best Picture are going to go to Power of the Dog.
Well, he didn't even get nominated, which is
right.
The bit.
Right. He didn't. Yeah. Well, that's devastating.
Devastating.
Yeah. No, I see what you're setting me up for now, and I breathe straight past. Remember when I said I was a moron? But yeah, so Dune, incredible film. Probably my favorite of last year, but it would be a tough.
I would believe Spider-Man came out in December.
I know, but Dune is so good. Anyway, Coda is great. Story structure, fairly simplistic, not a lot there. But I love the representation. I love what they've done with the deaf community. And there's multiple moments in there which kind of do what I think film does best, and it puts you in someone else's shoes.
Right.
And it gives you, it forces you to have empathy for a class or a different kind of people. And I think that's what film excels at. And Coda nails that.
Cool.
And then the other one is King Richard. I think Will Smith is going to take it this year for Best Actor.
Yeah.
He was incredible. For those that don't know, it's the story of, I'm going to get their names wrong. Serena Williams and... Nope.
Venus,
thank you. God, I just watched the movie. And so King Richard, the titular King Richard, played by Will Smith, is their father. And he kind of designs a training program for them. And anyway, never heard the story, had no idea. Great. Will Smith kills it. The lady that plays the wife, what is her name? It's here. Oh my God. Nope. Oh, nope. Can't even find it. But she's incredible too. So yeah, great. All three of those are slam dunks.
Very cool. Okay, so let me ask you something here, because
hit me.
As far as I've known, as long as I've known you, the Oscars are a big deal, and then maybe not the awards themselves. Yep. But you try to watch as many of them as you can.
Yep.
Then you have the big event, and you do you do your bets and all that stuff too.
Sure.
So what is it about the Oscars other than the social thing for you?
Like the betting is big. Because I think I have.
Because you're a degenerate.
Not to brag, but I'm pretty sure I've won a few years in a row.
I've never done it. That's why.
So the money side of it has been awesome. And typically, like, we don't go too crazy on the betting. It's typically like a fixed buy-in, so everyone pays $5, and then whoever has the most gets it all. So it's
a pot.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fact is when it comes down to film awards, the prestigious one is the Oscars. I don't think it is consistent and fair, and I don't think they truly do award the best films every time. But unfortunately, the way the industry works, the Golden Globes aren't looked at with the same prestige.
Yeah.
The Independent Spirit Awards aren't looked at with the same prestige.
Yeah.
So these films are going to be important in order to engage in the community, in like people that like film. That's the community I mean. Because these have been selected as some of the best.
Yeah.
So that is probably reason number one I got into watching the Oscars, and I started paying attention to it. Secondly, it's sort of just become a thing now. I do like sort of leaning into the let's see what shitty pick the Academy makes this year. I truly think Power of the Dog is going to win Best Picture, and I do not think it deserves it.
Right.
I think it's a good film.
Yeah.
And it is a technical achievement for sure. Like
that means it should win it outright then.
Sorry?
That means it'll probably win it outright.
Exactly. Like there was things I understand they did well there.
Yeah.
But it's not breaking any ground. It's very safe, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There is some discussion of potential bisexuality or probably just homosexuality, but like it's weird. The handling of it is strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's not breaking any new ground. It's not doing anything crazy that we haven't seen before.
Right.
I think there is better films. But that one is Oscar baity, and that one is going to wow the Academy, I think.
So you have this thing about watching them and actively getting angry.
Maybe not actively getting angry, but definitely like I think part of it is just me being like, these old pieces of shit are gonna love this, So I think some of it is just I like being able to predict. But at the end of the day, how I tend to look at the Oscars is this: whatever wins awards, they are good films typically.
Sure.
Like with the obvious, notably, like Suicide Squad from 2016 wins an Oscar, and that's how you need to go watch that film.
You couldn't even make it through the whole thing.
No, I couldn't. But like I'm not saying they're the best of the pack,
sure,
but they are good.
Yeah.
So how I've always looked at it is, I'm not a big fan of period pieces typically.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are they kind of bore me. But if there's a period piece that's up for an Oscar, I typically go to my way to watch it.
Sure.
Just because I know that of those films, that's probably going to be the best one that came out this year. You know? Cyrano isn't out for, I don't think, any Oscars other than costume design. I wasn't interested in watching Cyrano. I saw the trailer, was like, I love Peter Dinklage. This looks bad.
Yeah.
And so seeing the fact that it wasn't even honored like at all, shows to me, okay, this really isn't worth my time. Given I'm not interested in the genre anyway.
To begin with,
So, it's tough. It's tough. I find the discourse in the film community about the Oscars is very strange. Like, in particular, I'm in a few MCU groups online because, I love the MCU. And
Academy Award-winning MCU.
The Academy Award. But I find the fans are so interesting just because, a movie doesn't get great reviews. Like the upcoming masterpiece, Morbius. And then these fans immediately say, oh, well, this wasn't meant for you. This wasn't meant for critics. Critics don't understand these films. But then when there's discussion about how Spider-Man No Way Home isn't being nominated for Oscars and isn't in the Best Picture category when we have Don't Look Up in there, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. But the very same people will go from, these aren't for critics. These, they don't understand us. To
why isn't it a Best Picture?
Furious that it's not being nominated for awards. Or on the other hand, when it is nominated for awards, lauding that and throwing, the Oscar-winning film Black Panther. Yeah, awesome, great, glad it won awards. Why are the fans both ways about this? Like, it's strange to me. It's
kind of not an MCU thing particularly, but it is a very comic booky thing.
I think it's a nerd thing.
To hate and love the things that you love and hate all at once. As weird as that sounds, but that's the best way I think I could totally talk about it.
And it's sort of like I think it's a weird thing with fandom where on one hand, as a fan of things, you want other people to enjoy the thing you like. Yeah. But when people enjoy that thing, you also, or not not everyone, but there is fans that also tend to then run people through purity tests. But are you a true fan?
Gatekeeping?
Absolutely.
In comics? What?
But it's not just comics. It's not just comics. But they have it both ways. Where again, it's like, okay, well, we need to get new blood. We need Star Wars to go on to a new generation. But as soon as people are there, it's like, yeah, but how much money have you spent on Star Wars? Or how many Star Wars films have you seen? Have you read all the extended universe books? And it's like, well, hold on, like. We can have it both ways. Like, you can be a Star Wars fan that's watched 2 films. Yeah. Or just watch the Clone Wars TV series.
Sure.
Or, really likes Rey action figures. Maybe it's a little strange. But, like, you can still be a Star Wars fan. Yeah. And you can also be a Star Wars fan if you have read every piece of Star Wars literature, anything that's been put out for the past 40 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I just thought...
No, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted to hear it.
I'll shut up for a second. What did you think about Turning Red?
I thought it was great. Obviously, I have no idea what it is like to be a 13-year-old girl.
Sure.
But I do know what it's like to be a 13-year-old Asian. And they nailed that.
Yeah.
They nailed that. There's all of it, really. From the homework, the school stuff, to the responsibilities at home. To the 4 crazy ants in tracksuits, man. That's pretty traumatizing. The 4 ants with the buy 4 for 1 haircut. We all know what that is. I think it's great. I don't understand that's a discourse I don't understand. The controversy with all of that stuff.
Oh, I don't even know if I'm familiar with that.
Oh, I think that it got slightly review bombed from a bunch of parents that are basically like, this movie teaches you how to disobey your parents.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Have they seen like any animated movie ever? Because they're
no, apparently not.
Yeah,
apparently not. And honestly, like, and then maybe it might be a different discussion for a different day. But like, the hypersensitivity coming out of the pandemic.
Feels
like a real thing.
Really?
It feels like there's people forgot how to interact with other people,
I see that.
And stuff of that nature. And maybe it's one of those things too. A lot of kids were born during the pandemic era and then have no social interactions with other kids or whatever it might be. But it just feels like people are reaching for a lot of weird things. And like I said, what about the other 30 Pixar movies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why this one? I think
Finding Nemo is literally about a kid that disobeys his dad. That's the whole bit.
Yeah, but it's a fish, not a kid.
That's the difference.
That's the difference.
Yeah, there it is.
But I think in this one, people are pinpointing to the part where she literally is like I'm not like you, and I don't want to be like you, and I'm not listening to you anymore, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, that's still just every coming of age movie ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a part of the coming of age experience.
Yeah.
Especially
13-year-olds.
Totally.
Right.
I think it's worth noting I can't comment on the controversy, so I'm just gonna pivot.
Smooth.
I think one of the amazing things Turning Red did, it was quite a departure for Pixar.
Yeah.
Mainly animation and art style wise. I found it was drastically different than the other stuff they put out.
Yeah.
And I think I had seen the TikTok about it where they discussed how a lot of the other Pixar films are far more realistic, and they use realistic lighting and realistic characters, and while in Turning Red, it's very cartoony in a way that Pixar's never really done before.
Yeah, it's very it's almost Ghibli-esque, Miyazaki-esque in tone. What I thought was interesting is it felt like the first Pixar movie, and it's been a couple of years now, but it felt like the first Pixar movie that was truly post-Lasseter. Because it is so different from what we're used to from Pixar, and the way it looks and the way it's structured, all of that stuff.
So didn't we have Luca 6 months ago?
We did. I still feel like that's very Pixar-y. I had and I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I actually quite enjoyed Luca, but it still felt a part of that Pixar mold.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of impossible to talk about Turning Red without talking about the Disney Plus release. Any comments?
No, I don't know. I just the business side of it is something I'm just unfamiliar with. Like, I would have loved it to see it in theaters. Absolutely. Would I have paid for it in theaters on day one? I would have.
Sorry, just for context, I realized I didn't totally explain that. Turning Red was initially planned to be released in theaters, and then Disney executives sort of, as far as the discourse, or as far as it's clear to me anyway, they overrode the creatives at Pixar and just said, we're going to release this straight to Disney Plus instead of releasing to theaters. Yeah. So I think I read once upon a time a book, Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, the head of Pixar, and he talking about creating Pixar.
It's a great book, by the way.
Well worth a read. Yeah. Ed Catmull, send us the kickbacks for that. Thanks, bud. But anyway, they talked in there about how when they started doing sequels, they didn't want to do the direct-to-DVD release model that Disney had currently employed, because they made it seem like they had an A team and a B team, that there was a lower quality team. And I think that the Pixar team is starting to feel that, since their stuff's getting released a little bit straight to Disney Plus. Is that they're being viewed a little bit lower quality, and they're not worth going to a theater, which is brutal. Because I think in most cases, at least in my experience, I tend to enjoy Pixar films more than I enjoy the films produced by Disney Animation.
Correct.
So it's like it should be the opposite, if anything. And I think both studios are producing quality at a high enough caliber that they should both be released straight to the theaters. Or fine, if you want to release to Disney Plus after 3 weeks or whatever, great. But if that's what we're coming down to, now don't get me wrong, as a consumer, great, awesome that I can watch it straight on streaming. I don't have to pay extra. Awesome, amazing. But I do think it's a little strange. I think it's an odd choice.
And I think you were just talking about it a little bit there, and I think there's maybe a little bit of pretentiousness on the consumer side, or maybe just for me, in terms of when I think of Pixar, I think of it as a higher quality standard, like a higher standard in terms of production and whatnot. So when there is a stigma for straight to DVD and straight to video releases, that it is a lower tier production.
Yeah.
So to kind of have Pixar be that is a little strange. And I know a lot of people on the outside are going to be like, yeah, but those guys got paid. I'm like, I don't know if it's about pay for them.
Totally.
There's a little bit of pride there to be like, hey, we put out, I had a friend that works at Disney. And, he's talked about how competitive those studios are against each other.
Oh, yeah.
Disney Animation, Disney Live Action, Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel.
Sure.
And how they're all just kind of working across the street from each other, but they want to beat each other constantly.
I get that a little bit.
Yeah, there's a competition there.
Like friendly competition.
And especially if you look at those 5 studios, the most consistent one has been Pixar.
Yeah.
So to all of a sudden be taken out of that race, that's a point of pride, and I definitely it sucks.
Yeah. Like against Marvel, maybe not as
sure.
Or maybe I'm not going to argue that. Yeah, we're not going to get into it. But I know what you mean. For sure.
Yeah.
That's got to be a blow to the ego. Aside from movies, have you been up to anything? Like personally, I've played Elden Ring constantly at every waking moment that I wasn't watching movies or working in the past 2 weeks. So I have nothing else going on in my life. But have you anything not movie related?
Not movie related. Really quickly, I because of how much I enjoyed the Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman. I started doing a rewatch of the Batman animated series.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I probably will roll that into Superman and Justice League Unlimited and Batman Beyond.
Oh, okay.
Once all that stuff gets going, I can't really stop. And it's great.
And all 4 of those are all 90s releases, correct?
Yeah. They were. Batman's 92, 93-ish.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really amazes me, is that the blueprint for really good movies is right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's been there since 92, and it's just people just don't refuse to do good Batman things.
Yeah.
And other than that,
with the exception of the Batman,
the Batman, which we know we've got
Nolan's trilogy. I'm just saying we probably had more good Batman in the last 20 years than we've had bad Batman.
Cinematically, 20 years, 2002. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That might be 3-3.
Okay. Well, there's a Dark Knight trilogy that was. I see what you're doing. Okay. We can discuss that later.
Other than that, I talked to you about it really briefly, but I've been watching Winning Time on HBO, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
John C. Reilly?
John C. Reilly, with Jason Clarke.
Oh, love Jason.
Adrian Brody.
Man, he keeps showing up and stuff.
He keeps showing up randomly in HBO shows.
Yeah.
Just like as a dude.
A friend was mentioning this recently. He is the king of showing up in things for like cameos.
Yeah.
And basically like he killed it really early on in his career and now has just coasted with small cameos and little things ever since. And everyone's like, oh, it's Adrian Brody. And you're like stoked to see him, because we never see him anymore.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, amazing. And then he walks off and he's like, wow, he killed it.
Which is funny because like he shows up and I thought it was just another bit part. And it's a big part.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's a big part. And it's an Adam McKay production.
Oh, love Adam McKay.
So director, so it feels...
Except for Don't Look Up.
It feels very McKay-like. It's great. It's got that weird 70s vibe, and there's parts of it that he's filmed in like with that grain.
Oh, yeah.
And all that stuff. The music is great because he's really good with that as well. And it's all really good. And I can't tell because I'm just a mess in my own head sometimes, but I'm watching it and I'm enjoying the absolute shit out of it.
Nice.
So it's 3 episodes in and I highly recommend it.
Okay. I'm not a big sports guy.
You don't need to be.
Yeah, I would enjoy it otherwise.
Absolutely. I think because it's about the Lakers, so it's Magic Johnson and all that stuff, and I think he shoots a basketball 3 times in the first 3 episodes. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I appreciate that you just assumed I knew who Magic Johnson was. I do know, but I do want to just note the fact that you gave me that credit.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
Anything
else you wanted to mention?
No, I think the weeks are kind of blurring together. So
Yeah, no kidding.
And I don't even have an Elden Ring.
Yeah,
to make that even worse.
Yeah, dude, it's been a whole thing. I'll be honest. I will just have a quick closing thought because I've dunked on Don't Look Up a couple times. I didn't hate the film. It's just fine. There's a lot of good people in there, and they don't really use them well, and it's fine. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up for Oscars. That's all I'm saying. Also, Elden Ring is great. 120 hours or something in the last 3 weeks is
Jesus.
I have a full-time job and we're doing the podcast. So I don't know where the time comes in, honestly.
I have no idea. And you take 3 hours to do your Wordle every morning, so
I don't know if we can end anything better than that. So we'll see you guys next week.